I don't know if you played the game Pokemon Go. It's like
Yes.
adding some virtual animals, virtual
Yeah.
characters on top of the real city, right? On top of the real map. So that's
Mm-hmm.
something we call that a digital extension of our current universe. So which means
We can get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Actionable ESG Talks series brought to you by AKFI, Actionable Knowledge Foundational Institute, the world's first nonprofit industry consortium committed to bridging the gap between ESG, sustainability, and digital transformation. My name is Isabella. I am the co-host of this talk series here with Manuel, another co-host, and our special guest today, Dr. Yuan. Welcome to the show, Dr. Yuan.
thank you. It's my honor and the pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to have you. And thanks to this talk series, we get to connect with great minds to together discuss the current state and the future state of the sustainability, digital transformation, and ESG. And before we started, Dr. Yan, I'll just let our audience know a little bit more about you. Who are you? What do you do? So Dr. Yan is the IEEE Board Director Elect and IEEE Standards Association President Elect. And before that, in the last 10 years, he also held several positions at IEEE, including such as the Board of Directors, Chair of IEEE Consumer Technology Society Emerging Technology Standards Committee. That's very long. I'm almost out of my breath. And he also founded an awesome company called OX Census. I almost said 0X. OX Census Corporation. Am I right, Dr. Yan?
Oh, either way. So
Either way, okay, flexible.
yeah.
Yes, which is a multinational technology company specialized in virtual reality, augmented reality, and human augmentation. And the company has a great vision. It's to creating better worlds in the long term. And the company does development in technologies, infrastructure, ecosystem, and resources needed for massively multiplayer, ultra-realistic virtual experience. And prior to this, Dr. Yan also worked for IBM Research, and he also holds a PhD of computer science. Thank you so much for being here. It's a great pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
So to start our conversation, we'd like to hear your broad sense, your overall opinion on the current state of the sustainability and evolution of digital transformation, especially about metaverse and all these things together. What are your thoughts?
So overall, I think sustainability and the metaverse uh, collectively, there are the top two mega trends for the coming years or coming decades. And in some countries, they identified two major directions: go digital and go green, which is just another interpretation of the metaverse and the sustainability. So metaverse to me is a advanced stage of digital transformation. Actually, recently I developed something I call the chronicle of digital transformation, and looking back at the entire history since our humankind has had a computer, I divided the history into 5 different stages, from digitalization 1.0 to 5.0. So the 1.0 was just like we had automation. So since we started having computers, we tried to automate everything. We still remember the term called office automation, and also we try to automate other things by using computers. That's era of I call the digitalization 1.0. And the digitalization 2.0 is about interconnection. It's an internet era. So we started having internet connecting many machines, connecting many people together. And we also started having the so-called mobile internet. which give people extra flexibility to access internet while they are in mobility. So and the next thing, but I would not like to just call out mobile internet as a separate era, because I think the mobility was not that revolutionary. Even when we have like 3G, 4G to access internet on the move, people still kept looking for Wi-Fi. So which means actually that the key aspect is to being able to access the internet, but the using cellular mobile network was not that important. So wireless is different from mobile. So that's why I did not call out the mobile internet as a separate era. I would like to put that together with the rise of internet in the era of interconnection, which I call that digitalization 2.0. And then we came to digitalization 3.0, which was about personalization. And in other words, that was the rise of the so-called Web 2.0. At that time, the keywords are UGC, user-generated content. But UGC itself was not enough, because if we have lots of user-generated content, but without any recommendation algorithms, most of those content would not have a chance to show up on your browser, would not have a chance to be consumed by other users. So it had to be have a combination of user-generated content and recommendation algorithms. So that was the Web 2.0. I call that the era of personalization, digitalization 3.0. Then we came to digitalization 4.0, which was in parallel with the so-called industry 4.0, and the keyword was intelligence. So we started saying artificial intelligence to influence all kinds of things, or various industries. Or artificial intelligence has been started being used in many different applications and services. That was what we had recently. And now we are facing a completely new era. I call that the digitalization 5.0, and the keyword I coined a new term for that is realitization. So which means with digital technologies, for the first time, we human beings, we will be able to create new realities, create different realities. That's in other words, a metaverse. So that's sort of consistent with my company's vision, creating better worlds. So of course, with digital technologies, we will be able to create new universes built upon digital technologies. So that is current stage, the digitalization 5.0, and I call that the long-term vision and advanced stage of the digital transformation. So with that being said, digitalization or digital transformation, or in other words, metaverse, would be equally important mega trend together with sustainability, and I believe that will be the dominating topics for many countries, for our society in the coming years or maybe a couple of decades.
Thank you very much. And before we continue, I heard many definitions of the metaverse. Do you know if there is one which is more commonly accepted, or even maybe IEEE is working on one? And by the way, thank you for sharing your digitalization 1.0 to 5.0. This is really an excellent starting point for today's conversation. So back to the question, if there is a more common way of defining the metaverse.
Yeah, so there are many people trying to define metaverse. And some people say that, well, probably we don't need to define the metaverse, we just do it. And then later we can come back to visit the definition later. But I kind of think that we still need to have a common understanding or consensus. Either way, otherwise, it would have unnecessary friction in discussions and other collaborations about the metaverse. I think one of the very popular definitions of metaverse is something like metaverse is the next generation internet. But I don't like this definition. I think from the standardization perspective, it is not a definition. It is simply a functional description. Because to give something a definition, your purpose is to explain that, is to make it clearer in front of people who did not know what the term is. But if you just tell the public, metaverse is the next generation internet, you didn't say anything. Actually, the public or your audience still don't know what is a metaverse. Some people would also say like metaverse is a 3D internet, and then I would question why you call that metaverse instead of meta internet. So I think metaverse named after the universe, it has to be defined with some connection with the universe. So I came up with my definition, which has been widely adopted and recognized by many people, and has been used by IEEE in our IEEE Metaverse Congress. So my definition, the philosophy is that it's about I was kind of following to be is to be perceived. So our reality is actually based on our perception. So my definition is that metaverse refers to a kind of experience in which the outside world is perceived by users as a universe, and that universe is built upon digital technologies. And there could be three different kind of universes. Either that is a different universe, different from our current universe, and that's typically we call that the virtual reality. And the second category is that it could be a digital extension of our current universe. That's the so-called augmented reality. And the third one is that could be a digital counterpart of our current universe. That is the so-called digital twin. So let me wrap up. Let me read that again. I think that is, I actually spent lots of effort in developing this definition. So I always want to read that. So metaverse refers to a kind of experience in which the outside world is perceived by the users, human or non-human, as being a universe that is built upon digital technologies as a different universe, virtual reality, a digital extension of our current universe, augmented reality, or a digital counterpart of our current universe, digital twin. So that's my definition, and I believe that is currently the most inclusive definition in the industry. But as you asked, IEEE is also in the process of establishing a new, initiating a new standard to address that issue. So that is a standard with the number 2048 standard for metaverse terminology, definitions, and taxonomy. So we are in the process of approving this new project, and we hope that project will, the outcome of this project would be a very widely adopted standard and set some grounds and also roadmaps for the industry.
Thank you very much. And I cannot stop noticing that your definition is a 3D definition. It's a three-dimensional definition, right, of the metaverse.
Yeah.
The way you look at it, it's from three different perspectives. Mm-hmm. And if you can share it with us, we'll gladly add to the presentation so people can see it. And I hope very much that IEEE will definitely give a close consideration to your definition. in their work and in the 2048 standard.
Thank you.
And moving on a little bit, many discussions about the metaverse and not so much anymore about digital transformation are related to the questions: are these temporary? Are these fads? Are these things which come and go really quickly, or we really experience the beginning of a trend? And your definition at the beginning, when you talk about digitalization 1.0 to 5.0, you almost answered the question, but I'd like to go to it again in a little bit more details. So, fad or trend?
Well, I think it's kind of both. So the reality is that there are lots of hypes in the market about the metaverse, especially those hypes related to like NFT or Web3, those kind of crypto communities. They try to, I would say, I'm not saying that metaverse does not need NFT, does not need decentralization, but to me, I think NFT or decentralization, they are optional elements of metaverse. They are not key core elements of metaverse, but there are lots of hypes in the market. People trying to sell you a static image, and they claim that is something called metaverse. So that is ridiculous. Those are hypes which are negative to the development of the metaverse. But even with that, I still truly believe that the metaverse, especially if we look at the core concept of the metaverse, or if based on my definition, that would be the next biggest thing, and that would be a completely new era, a completely new revolution. So I really believe it will be bringing us disruptive changes to all the industries in the coming years and decades. So from that perspective, it's not hype, it's definitely a trend.
And thank you very much, because in a couple of days we'll meet again on a conference by Vincula, right? And my topic is exactly innovation and sustainability, and exactly what you said. But I'd like to turn it to Isabella for a few more questions. As I mentioned before we started the recording, she's also the recent author of a bestseller called The Digital Mind of Tomorrow. And I'm sure she has some questions about the metaverse as well.
I think Dr. Yuan has summarized very well about the definition. That was very fresh to me, and he was right. It's always something about the technology part when it comes to explaining to the public. And even to me, I wasn't quite aware of what it actually means. And what I heard from Dr. Yuan, it's digital twin and a parallel universe and an extension of our existing universe. And all of those things are very, even spiritual to me. And I really like to hear things to talk from that kind of dimensional, not just on the dimensional, the world that we're living in. So when you talk about as a parallel universe or an extension of our universe, what's your philosophical understanding in terms of that?
Well, okay, so let's address the parallel universe first.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't like the term. Well, I'm not a big fan of using the term parallel, because what parallel really means. So to me, we're just talking about a different universe, which is built upon our current universe, but is not connected with our current universe. So if that is connected with our current universe, by definition, that should be part of our universe. So we call that a different universe because that is not connected with our universe. The only example or the only embodiment I can think of is virtual worlds or virtual universes that we previously experienced in games. So for example, imagine you are playing a video game and you look at in front of you, there's a screen. showing a virtual world in that you are controlling your avatar to like ride on a horse or like driving a car or even like run on your own and fight with different against different monsters. So that is a virtual world example of a virtual world. But from another perspective, nothing in that virtual world is really connected to our current universe physically. And that virtual world, the birth, the existence of that virtual world is exactly based on your perception. So without you as a user, what is in front of you on your screen is no more than a pile of pixels, no more than a pile of colorful dots. So only because of your understanding, they became a reality. They became a virtual world. So that's the only embodiment I can think of as a different layer of universe or parallel universe or different universe, which is virtually another universe you can live in, you can experience lots of things in, but that is not physically connected to our current universe. So in some religions, people are talking about different planes or different layers uh, uh, well, of our current universe. That is basically part of our, by definition, because universe is supposed to include everything. So those kind of multiverse or parallel universe, if they are still connected with our current universe in a physical way, they should be considered as part of our current universe, not a different one. But the virtual world example I gave you as a video game, they are not physically connected with our current universe. That is the so-called virtual universe, completely virtual one. Or maybe you can uh, think about the examples in some science fiction movies like The Matrix or many others in which it's like people are accessing different virtual worlds, but those virtual worlds still it's not something like a multiverse or parallel universes. It's like a virtual universe, one universe on top of another, in a built with digital technologies in a virtual way. Yeah, but not physically connected to each other. So that's a sort of confusion, but I think that's important. And we talk about the digital extension of a current universe. That is typically called augmented reality or mixed reality. That is about adding some virtual objects as an overlay layer on top of our current universe, which means in our current universe, like you walk in the real street, you can still see some virtual objects. You probably, I don't know if you played the game Pokemon Go. It is like adding some virtual animals, virtual characters on top of the real city, right? On top of the real map. So that's something we call that a digital extension of our current universe. So which means we are not creating a different universe. Instead, we are adding digital objects into our current universe in that way to extend our current universe. So that's a so-called augmented reality. So the major difference between virtual reality and augmented reality is that are we creating a different universe or are we extending our current universe? You may notice that I didn't use I didn't call that a real world or real universe because some people are still doubting, well, including myself, are we already living in a virtual universe? That's something our science and technology are still not able to prove or disapprove. So I avoid using that term. I just use the term our current universe. I don't want to touch if our current universe is virtual or not. That's something that's later.
And you bring a wealth of references. I'm not going to go in each of them, but definitely biology and brain sciences are looking at our representations in our minds about the universe, because everyone carries a representation in the brain. So is it virtual or real? It's maybe for a follow-up interview if we can. And the other, of course, you brought the issue of the physical elements, and you brought also the issue of how we use layers in spirituality, in religion, and so on. So it's really, really very interesting. It's a 360-degree view of my current universe, and I'll stop here and maybe go back to Isabella.
Let's keep this conversation in control. It can be easily go out of control. It's such an interesting and forward-thinking topic. Like Dr. Yuan says, our job is to really tell people to explain in a way that people can understand. And I found a lot of times when I heard things about metaverse, yeah, it's a lot of abstract or technical description that it's hard to capture, like me as a non-technical person, to understand what is this really about. So thank you, Dr. Yuan, to make the effort to at least make it applicable or understandable for a mediocre person like me when it comes to technical problems. Yeah. So,
And I should notice that engineers, I'm one of them, have a tendency to talk only to engineers, Isabella. So I really appreciate use, broad and human touch when he explains, right? He's not
exactly,
talking only to engineers.
exactly. Yeah.
So
Well,
please,
let's
please.
connect to the sustainability, the topic of this interview a little bit with the metaverse. How do you see metaverse plays a role in building a more sustainable future, in accordance to the ESG governance, environmental protections, and things like that?
So, sustainability itself is a very broad topic, but at the core, it's I think energy production and consumption. So metaverse, let's use energy production and consumption as an example, as a core concept, core element of sustainability. So metaverse can play a very important role in that perspective, especially many people are addressing energy issues from the supply perspective. But I think it's equally important or even more important to solve this issue from the demand perspective, the demand side. And the metaverse can probably is most efficient therapy for that demand side. So, for example, in recent years, in the autonomous driving industry, all the companies are testing their cars, testing their algorithms in virtual worlds. So they may test their cars for like millions of miles in the virtual world before they put that on the real world. That saves lots of energy and also avoid lots of safety concerns. So that's an example. And also metaverse with especially digital twin can efficiently help factories, companies to optimize their procedures, and to by optimizing their procedures, they will be able to save more energy, save more costs, etc. And I'd like to go a little bit deeper with a bold thought. I think metaverse is going to bring disruptive changes to many industries. Some industries may disappear moving forward when metaverse, the mature level of metaverse is going to a next level. For example, mobility, so the mobility industry or the automotive industry. So like if metaverse can solve most of our needs in terms of visiting different places or meeting different people, like what we are doing today, we don't need to travel to a common place to meet and talk. We can use those technologies. Of course, nowadays technologies are not perfect enough, but we can imagine that moving forward, we will have more immersive, more realistic technologies to make people feel like they are physically together, although they are in reality they are not physically together, but they are virtually together. So with that being said, we can imagine that moving forward with the advancement of metaverse technology, the demand for people's mobility will be significantly reduced. So the automotive industry could be dying. The transportation industry could be significantly decreasing or dying. So the that might not be a good news for people working in those industries, but from
Mm-hmm.
energy consumption perspective, tremendous energy currently consumed by vehicles would be significantly saved with that trend. So that's just examples, but you can feel that okay, with advancement of metaverse, uh, our work and life will be significantly changed. Our current demands will be significantly changed, which means many of our current demands, which are very energy consuming, may be no longer valid. So that's why I say metaverse is probably the most efficient therapy or solution for sustainability, especially from the demand side.
Mm.
And I may add that, and we see that at Cornell is, I don't know, want to call it current verse, but we use the technology already for years to do long distance, not in person sharing of knowledge, right? Because really this is what's about teaching, is to share the knowledge, to impart the knowledge of the academics with the people. And I want to connect it to your comment because yes, any new and really changing technology, changing our world, uh, do create the need for reskilling, do create the need for continuing education. So I would also encourage to, or I'm encouraged to say that the metaverse has also creates a better medium for sharing knowledge and for taking these people that may be displaced, as you said, in one industry and reskilling for the future.
Well, exactly. I think metaverse can significantly improve the equity of education opportunities. Without that, the reality is that like children living in poor areas, many of them may never have the chance to visit like the Forbidden City or Metropolitan Museum. But with Metaverse, they would have virtually equal opportunities to get educated, to visit different places in the world, understanding how things are going in other places.
So you're encouraging me to think that if, in my generation, we cannot solve the sustainability problems, we'll have a better generation coming up with the knowledge and the perspectives to really get hold of the way that people can live on the planet, right? And they can live together.
Yeah.
So, Isabella,
Mm.
don't know if you have
I do, I
another.
do. I want to ask Dr. Yan. So when it comes to the digital twin, the simulation type of, metaverse, and also we talk about extension of the metaverse and a new verse that we built, like these kind of three scenarios, which one you see it's gonna be the main development, or this could be happening simultaneously. What's your take on this, or which one you believe people will be more leaning towards to or against? So what's your take on this?
Oh, that's a very good question. They are happening simultaneously. However,
Mm,
in terms of the market, in terms of the value they are creating, uh,
mm-hmm,
I think digital twin will come first. Of course, digital twin has
mm,
becoming well essential technology in enterprise applications. Like
mm-hmm,
we call that either Industry 4.0 or smart manufacturing. More and
mm-hmm,
more factories, more and more manufacturers are using digital twin to optimize their procedures, to save the cost and improve the efficiency. So digital twin will have, I would say, will be a hit in the market earlier
Mm-hmm.
than the other two, and then probably that would be augmented reality. That's because currently our technologies are still far from perfect, far from mature enough in terms of providing people a truly immersive
Mm-hmm.
experience without letting them feel uncomfortable. Like you put a headset on, and you can maybe keep using that for some virtual reality experiences for like 1 hour or two,
Mm-hmm.
then you will start feeling sick, right? So that's the kind of status. So,
Yes.
so before we have further advancement from that direction, I don't think virtual reality will really take off. So,
Mhm.
but digital twin is like basically digital twin is experienced by machines, not by people. The digital counterpart of the physical world is processed by machines, by computers, by artificial intelligence, uh, mostly. And people as observers, you can just watch the like a dashboard, but that's not the main purposes. So, which means in enterprise applications, those kind of user experiences that we currently have in terms of wearing VR or AR glasses or headsets does not really matter so much. So,
Mhm.
in other words, digital twin can be adopted earlier without the mature technologies of immersive, making virtual objects, virtual environment immersive. So the next thing would be virtual reality or mixed reality. Because there are lots of ongoing efforts uh,
Mhm.
to produce some AR glasses. So you can put it on, and they will let you see through the glasses, and you can still see the physical world
Mhm.
around, but it will just add some overlay information or overlay objects to provide you extra assistance or infotainment. So that probably uh, will become um, some popular products or services in the market in a couple of years. And does not really require a very ultra realistic,
Mhm.
distinguishable, immersive experiences. But later we will have truly virtual reality, and that will be some very fundamental change to our life. Because uh, from that perspective, you can really literally live a different life in a different universe. So that would be a tremendous change to many things, to all our work and life. But that will come later. That would be, I would say, maybe another 10 years or so, even longer.
Mm. Not that bad. 10 years is really fast. I was thinking
15 years, we have
fif-
to have some breakthrough from neuroscience, brain science to solve some issues. Like I think the ultimate way to provide the immersive and indistinguishable, ultra realistic experience is to use brain machine interface to give input directly into your consciousness. So in that way,
Mm.
actually talking about um, I would say take over the input and output of your consciousness, where directly interfacing with your consciousness with brain machine interface, those neural signals, instead of trying to put some devices outside of your body. So
Right.
the current solution is to put some devices outside of the body, either a headset or glasses.
Mhm.
Uh, to me, those are like some I would say uh, just some temporary solutions, but not the ultimate form of that
Mm.
technology.
Thank
It's
you.
very interesting, and just a quick footnote. But I've read about digital twins also being starting to be used in medical sciences, and trying to create a model, for instance, for surgeons before they operate, a model of the particular person they have in front of them, to exercise and make sure that in complex surgery they can. So there is a beginning also of using in human in modeling human um, people, humans,
In the body.
the
Yeah,
body, right? The functions of the body, which are definitely more complex than any industrial process we ever figured it out so far. We are a much
absolutely.
more complex machine. Well, I'd love to spend the next hour, but I would like to make sure that Dr. Yuan will join us again. But before the final question, or before going to the final question, I would like to bring really his work in IEEE, and maybe we get a glimpse of what's coming up in terms of sustainability, digital transformation, metaverse, and everything we cover so well today, as you cover it extremely well today. So the question is really whatever you can tell us on the record about what IEEE is doing these days in these fields: sustainability, digital transformation, ESG, and of course the metaverse.
Well, I cannot officially speak for IEEE at this moment, but I, as a volunteer in IEEE, my humble opinion is that we are working together to position IEEE uh, in a leading role in driving digital transformation, metaverse, and sustainability. So, IEEE's slogan is like advancing technology for humanity. And we truly believe digital transformation or metaverse and sustainability are the next two big things to help the humanity to solve some mega issues like climate change.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Yan. That's enough for us to know. A very nice vision, yes. And I also aware you personally has a very broad and genuine vision to making world a better place. So maybe to summarize this conversation, well, what's your take or what's your advice, to people who share the same vision as you, in order to contribute to develop a more sustainable, humane future to make the world a better place?
Well, there are lots of technologies. So we are engineers, and I think technologies are sort of like fundamental forces to change the world. But of course, along with other disciplines. But anyhow, I think we as engineers, we have the duty or responsibility to provide some implementable, tangible
Hmm.
solutions for the world to become a better home, better place.
Thank you. Oh, people like me will so appreciate the input from the tangible development in the technology world. Like I have a lot of idea, abstract, sounds great, but it really needs to come down to the level that, like you mentioned, tangible, visible, and comprehensible. Thank you. Thank you for the notes.
Thank you. And I can just add from a double E. I'm an electronic engineer. I can add that we're working really hard at AKFI to bring these two worlds together: the technical world of the digital transformation and the business world and the human world of sustainability and ESG. So thank you. Really, that gives us the input and the impulse to continue on our work.
My great pleasure.
Thank you.
Awesome. Once again, Dr. Yan, thank you for sharing your valuable insights together with us today, with our audience. And thank you to all of our audience for tuning in today. Make sure to join us for a new episode of AKFI's Actionable ESG Talk series every week, where you can gain new perspective on how to mitigate risks and create value by integrating ESG and digital transformation. Until the next week, goodbye for now. Bye, Dr. Yan.
Bye bye. Bye, Isabella. Bye, Dr. Yuan.